new report says Connecticut is not quite making the grade when it comes to school graduation or other degree rates, but is making some progress. We're going to crunch the numbers coming up. Also, Connecticut has a racial profiling law that some lawmakers say most police departments are not following. We'll hear some about why it's not being enforced and what the governor says he's going to do about it. Also, public regulators have changed their minds and would now like to take a closer look at Northeast Utilities' plans to merge with NSTAR. We have some ideas of what they should be focusing on. Hi, you're watching The Real Story. I'm Lori Perez. Governor Dannel Malloy has proclaimed that the 2012 legislative session will be focused on education. The priorities: to close Connecticut's education gap, to increase graduation rates, support and improve school infrastructure, among other things that will make Connecticut schools better and Connecticut students more successful. This week, Connecticut school leaders and lawmakers gathered at Central Connecticut State University to discuss solutions for Connecticut schools. Jen Bernstein tells us the governor's education workshop will help shape his proposals for February's legislative session.
Connecticut might be the richest state in the nation, but over and over again, its education system isn't making the grade. The state has the largest achievement gap in the country, but Governor Malloy is hoping to change that during the next legislative session. He's deemed 2012 the year for education reform, and this workshop held at CCSU will help shape his policies and encourage discussion among school leaders in the state.
Education is a top priority. You know, we cannot make this state a better state unless we have all our kids educated well.
A recent report released by the State Department of Education showed 1 in 5 students does not graduate high school in 4 years. Minority and poor students did worse, with that number at 1 in 3 students.
Headed into a legislative session that begins in February, where a number of initiatives will be undertaken, and we're also reforming and reorganizing the department itself.
The potential changes will be guided by Connecticut's new education commissioner, Stefan Pryor.
I feel a real sense of urgency, but also a real sense of promise that all of the stakeholders and the constituencies are coming together with the same goal of trying to elevate student achievement.
We must move aggressively to narrow that gap in the state. It's important, one, for the children that are impacted by it, and secondly, it's critically important for everyone in Connecticut because it impacts the future economic viability of the state.
That is the big picture look at some of Connecticut's issues. It is supported by a recent report that gives an overview of how many Connecticut students are graduating from college or completing certificate programs. Mike Meotti is the EVP for the State of Connecticut Board of Regents, which oversees Connecticut's higher education system. I guess, Mike, if we could talk about, first of all, let's take a look at the numbers that you all sent out. We have a graphic that says that 2 out of 5, or about 41% of public high school students in the class of 2004 completed at least 1 degree or certificate. At least another third enrolled at a college or university during this period, but they did not complete a credential. And about another quarter were not found in the National Student Clearinghouse database, suggesting that they did not enroll at all during those 6 years. And what's your reaction to those numbers? I mean, I guess pretty grim.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's gone on for decades is school districts have been able to count up the number of students, seniors in high school, who tell them they're going to college next year. And in many districts, that's 60, 70, 80, 90% will say that they're going to college. And that's viewed as a success. You graduate from high school and you're going to college. And what we discovered is, while the numbers are, it's a little optimistic when students self-report like that, but what we found out is that the reality is only a little bit more than half of those who do go to college ever earn any kind of a college degree or credential of any kind. So it's really, those going to college is not the success signal that we would have thought it was for the last 30 years.
And that, I think, to me, is especially distressing, to actually get the kids to make the commitment to enroll, but then to not complete it. It's like we're really dropping the ball. What are the factors you think that are affecting that?
Well, there's a big factor in terms of college readiness. Over 70% of the full-time students at community colleges and about half the full-time students at Connecticut State University campuses place into remedial math or English courses. They are not ready for Math or English 101. There are also financial factors, there's also student personal readiness issues, other types of things, but we have a huge problem with students not being ready academically or in other ways for the switch to the college learning experience.
Well, from purely an academic standpoint, is that because the curriculum in the high schools is not challenging enough, or?
The curriculum in the high schools is not lined up to make you ready for that freshman year in college. And let's keep it straight, we're not necessarily talking about lining up to be ready for someone going to Yale, though many Connecticut students do that. We're talking about going from a high school that may be 5 miles away from a community college or Central Connecticut State University. And this is suburban and city school districts where there are large numbers of students who graduate from high school, enroll at that college, and they cannot take Math 101.
So where's the disconnect? I mean, is it because the college curriculums are increasing, or?
It's failure to communicate. I mean, we have too long had this sort of lax attitude that we can stay in our own worlds. College people stay in your world, the high school people stay in your world. We try to have some sort of general principles to make it connect. We really have to partner. Particularly, these are the students. You know, the students who are going to college in the backyard, or the students who are more middle of the pack. They may not be as motivated or whatever they're going because they think they really need to. But so they need maybe a little more support. They need more guidance. They need a better alignment of curriculum. We need to have the math, and in Connecticut and other places where we've seen signs of progress, it's because you've gotten the high school teachers and the college faculty together talking about, so the high school teachers know, oh, this is what freshman math, freshman English, that's what this looks like.
Right, so is that, so I guess that's your main priority at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. We're spending, I'm in higher education, I spend as much time talking to school superintendents as I do to people on college campuses.
So what about the role that the students themselves can play? I mean, is there something that...
Yeah, there's no question about that. I mean, you know, that this is an issue that's going to involve, you're going to have to change behaviors from not just schools and colleges, but also from students and from parents and, you know, et cetera. And students, one of the challenges is the cultural change from a high school environment where there's just a lot more attention and almost, you know, some would say almost babying of students, which is maybe not a fair way to put it.
Yeah.
And college where it's more, you're on your own, okay? And so maybe there has to be a little bit of blending of that, and we need more supports for some students in college. But students have to understand college, and we're not just talking about 4-year college, or 2-year college, we're talking about a year certificate program in an allied health field. That is hard work.
Right.
You know?
I mean, are there other states that are having more success?
No, this is pretty much a national phenomenon. What you find is pockets of success in these partnerships. Like there's a partnership between Western Connecticut State University and the high schools in Danbury and Bethel. They've shown amazing success because they've worked together at that human level. But no state has really been able to put this together. That's what we're trying to do.
You know, one thing that we always hear from viewers, and that I've thought myself, is that, you know, I've lived in other parts of the country that are not as well off as Connecticut. And sometimes you think, I mean, if Connecticut can't get it right, you know, with all of the resources that we do have available and the commitment, I mean, I would argue from the government, you know, what other state could get it right?
Yeah. Well, one thing we know we get very, very right in Connecticut, as good as any place in the country, is your top 10, 20, 30% of students in the high schools. I mean, if you're in that top academic group, in most places in Connecticut, you are getting a superb high school education and you're going on and being very, very successful in college. But the global economy is telling us more people need, in fact, everyone needs something after high school. It's not necessarily a 4-year degree. You need something. If you want to have a living wage, if you want to be able to save for retirement, own a home, whatever, you're not going to be able to do it just in a high school diploma anymore, okay? So it's that population of students that is right now, you'd say, in the middle group, that is the group that we're having the challenge that the old maybe sink or swim attitude that was taken that might work for your top 10% is not going to work if you're trying to scale out education to the whole population. You
know, and as the Commissioner of Education was just saying in that last story that we just saw, I mean, it's so vital because it's all connected to our economic vitality and jobs, et cetera. I mean, particularly, I mean, we see these numbers, particularly grim for students, minority students, and people in our urban centers. I mean, that's, how do you address that?
Yeah, I mean, and as our population gets more diverse, okay, that increases the stakes behind this challenge because there's nothing else. We can't, you know, if we have a poorly educated workforce, We can't work around it by better transportation systems or tax policy or anything else to improve the economy over the long haul. This state has been built for a long time on the skills and knowledge of its workforce. More and more that means some kind of formal education beyond high school, and this is where all the action is.
It's a big task, but we're all rooting for you.
Thanks you very much.
Thanks to Mike Meotti from the Board of Regents for being here today. Thanks a lot, Mike. Well, the Department of Justice says East Haven police have been racially profiling Latinos. Now some lawmakers want to make sure it's not happening in any other Connecticut town.